Pandemonium Reigns.
Hello, welcome to Pandemonium Reigns. I'm Ben. He's Mike. I'm pretty. You've heard this before. He's sexy. If you're not watching on YouTube, man, you're missing out. You're missing out. The term shaken bacon has a new meaning because Michael's hair is in the building.
Sir, it ain't going nowhere, baby. Except for hairline, it's gone.
So what happens when we lose to Virginia come September?
Bald head, son. Shaved. No. Never going. This hair saw the streaks break. It's going nowhere.
I got you. I love it. I'm here for it. I wish that my wife would let me do it. After seeing you today earlier on FaceTime, Courtney said, that looks really good on him. So anyway, I was like, hey, back up. Slow down your estrogen. Chill out. So anyway, we're talking the Pandemonium Reigns podcast today. We're talking 2023 Auburn Tigers, and we've been excited about this one for a minute now. So before we jump into this, make sure you hit like and subscribe. It does wonders for the algorithms and the formulas that are in the World Wide Web. So we appreciate you doing that. We're going to tickle the ears, and we're going to do it through the lens of Auburn football. Now, as we get this going, just put yourself. Actually, wait. Let me say this first before I ask you this question. If you and I have talked about this probably 100,000 times. If Tennessee ever gets hit with a death penalty in the football program, sports are done, and they're just an academic school. They don't have any athletics at Tennessee. I'm going to be an Auburn fan. I think it's a pretty easy decision for me. And everybody goes, why? Why would you like the team? Shut up. They hate Georgia and they hate Bama. So do I. War Eagle. So kiss it. And at this point, I'm rooting for the redemption of Hugh Freeze. I love a good comeback story. But anyway, so if you are an Auburn fan, we know that you're not, GBO, put your finger on the pulse of your figurative Auburn fanhood, and where you at,
dude? They're so. I want to say I would be too. So excited. If there's an area as well that they have Tennessee, maybe the fan base beat. It's excitement.
Yeah,
it is Twitter fieriness. I mean, even when you think about Vol Twitter and all it does, good and bad, they're right there with it, dude. They're insane.
Yeah,
I think that's why that transition might be doable. If Tennessee didn't exist, if we didn't send Davy Crockett the boys to rescue Texas, if that didn't happen, I think Auburn would be viable because there's so many similarities.
Yeah,
and just like think about when Tennessee hired Josh Heupel, he was the most established coach since Johnny Majors. Thinking about what they've done as a head coach in college football, but we weren't excited like that.
Mm-hmm.
And you think about Hugh Freeze, yeah, there was social media backlash from all other areas, and some parts of Auburn, I'm sure, were like, oh, man, what are we doing? But they're so excited just in the way that you should be when you land a name that can do the positive things like Hugh Freeze can do. I'm rooting for the redemption story as well. I don't want any more of the drama. He doesn't need that. He's done. If he gets that's bad. I think he needs to be in the sport. He's good for the sport on that good side of him.
Yeah,
they're stoked, and they should be.
Yeah, absolutely. Jordan Hare, highly underrated place to play. Doesn't get enough credit. But as I started digging into this, come across just a couple things that I wanted to point out. You know the last time that they had back-to-back losing seasons?
Dude.
No,
I don't.
Just go back through the Gus Malzahn years, and then through the Tommy Tuberville years, and whoever was before him, and then whoever was before him, and then before him, and then before him, and then you'll get there.
Okay, I was going to say, if it wasn't like, they fell off a cliff when Cam Newton left, because he's all they had anyway on offense.
Yeah.
They fell off a cliff that year. They were terrible with Chiswick. He was gone shortly after. But I was going to say, if it wasn't then, I mean, they've been consistent in the ways that Tennessee was consistent until 15 years ago, is what Auburn's been.
Mm-hmm.
They've got high highs, they've got some low lows, but they bounce back quickly somehow in a SEC West that's been remarkable for a long time. And yeah, man, I mean, they should be excited. They've done they've done maybe the roster flip the way you perhaps should have. I don't know, because Deion's got to try to win games and it's tough. But they've done some really. I mean, they've almost broken even. Whereas Deion's just like, get out, get out, get out. They've like broken even, if not netted a player or two in the portal. And it's going to be fascinating to watch. Schedule could be a lot worse.
Schedule's not bad. It's not bad.
It's not bad. I'm excited to get into it in a second. But yeah, it's not bad and if you think about Hugh Freeze, Liberty, whatever. And again, I'm not saying he's the best person in the world. There's definitely some things that are very ugly in his past. Hopefully he bounces back from, like we're saying. But if you think about his stint at Ole Miss, he didn't start out with much there. I mean, he really didn't. They were in a bad place when he took over. And it didn't take him long to beat Alabama even and do some really good things. Yeah. Now, that had a very low ceiling. Kind of their ceiling was visible. They didn't have necessarily playoff potential. They never made it that far into the conversation, but they had some good squads. They put up some points. He's a good football mind.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. I'm excited. But to answer the question, 1975, 76, and 77 is the last time they've had back-to-back losing seasons.
Wow.
Puts the program into a little bit different perspective, I think.
Yeah.
Because, you started to hit on it with the post-Chizik era, or right at the end of his era, I should say. They had obviously the national championship run in 2010. I think they had a really bad 2011, maybe 4-8, something like that. So that must mean that they went 6-6 or 7-6, in 2012, and obviously the hiring of Gus, where they make a natty game run in 2013. But anyway, so additionally, one more thing before we dive into this. Consider I don't know if I want to call Gus's tenure there something he sustained. I mean, he beat Bama times, and they had some low lows, some really high highs. But I think there was some form of weird consistency under Gus, and then he's gone. They do that ridiculous contract, buy out of that, and think about how far Harsin took it in a year and a half. How bad it got.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, the roster they've got a lot of wins in the transfer portal, so the roster is almost completely flipped. Not like a Colorado flipped, but you get the point. So diving into this, just what they left off from last year. They're going to be losing dudes like Tank Bigsby, Derek Hall, who I believe was drafted. I can never say his name. Owen Papo, whatever. Elite linebacker. Lost TJ Finley to the portal. Darn.
That's a win. Not positive.
I did just see, in looking at all this stuff, remember Joey Gatewood, once quarterback at Auburn?
Yes. Wow.
Is now listed as quarterback receiver, transferring from UCF to Louisville now.
Wow.
Yeah. The portal is a thing. They're losing Jeffrey Mma. Not to be confused with Taylor Hansen and Mbop.
Yeah.
In the portal to Purdue.
Yeah.
So some things there that I just don't make sense. So they're losing. It's funny to say this because they didn't have a lot of production last year, but losing production.
Yep.
But you gain some really handful of Group 5 guys. You get Peyton Thorne in the portal. I think if you're an Auburn fan, you're looking at the portal, you're excited because you're adding bodies. Add a competition factor. And even though the quarterback job is really up in the air, adding Peyton Thorne is going to add experience, which should raise the level of all those guys. So looking forward to that. ESPN FBI has got Auburn at 5-7.
Interesting. But the FBI sometimes stays drunk. So fair. on one leg, it's fair.
Yeah. And just one more thing before I want to dive into the schedule. Obviously, the uncertainty that is Jarquez Hunter. And I don't know how much you looked into this before we got started, but there is an alleged sex tape out there where, I don't know if you saw this, where he was supposedly charging $5 a pop.
Wow. My man getting in on that NIL.
Emphasize the N and the I and the N and okay. Not gonna go there. Not gonna go there.
Yeah. We'll just leave that.
So it's gonna be tough to do this considering we don't know who QB1 is. And I was talking to a buddy of mine here in the area, big Auburn guy, and he actually thinks that the QB1, the guy who's going to win, is Griner. It's not Asher or Peyton Thorne, and
that's interesting.
I appreciate his. I'm not gonna say he's a reliable source, but I think he's got logical thoughts. If that makes sense. Hope you're listening, Corey. If you're not, you suck. Anyway, so let's dive into the schedule. First 3 games start off very nice for these guys.
Absolutely.
They're gonna host. They're gonna host UMass. Don't want to spend a lot of time here. Dub.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely a dub. That's a nice start. Get some things figured out before your trip to California.
And you know that if you're a Pac-12 fan, participant, athletic director, you got to be pissed off. Like, how did Auburn get Cal? Right?
Yeah.
But who
we can't.
But Colorado.
Colorado.
Like, what the heck? Yeah, right. Anyway, I can't see why Cal can compete with almost any SEC team not named Vanderbilt.
Yeah, same. I mean, Cal was Colorado's lone win last year. Don't care where the game's played. The only thing that really could go wrong is if it's one of those 9 a.m. local time kickoffs. But, make the trip, get out there, show up.
Yeah.
Play physical football. My gosh, you should win this by 3 scores at minimum.
At minimum. Yeah. Cal's got nothing.
Yep.
And then you host Sanford, and I'm going to throw a little surprise here at you. Sanford wins the money game that day because they collect a check from Auburn as they go home with a loss. Ha.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely correct. That's if they don't start 3-0, it could be a long year 1, which would be understandable, but it will be a long year 1 if they don't start 3-0.
Yeah, 3-0. I would almost be willing to bet my annual salary 3-0, and then it gets interesting from the get for Auburn.
Yes, it does.
Game number 4, traveling to College Station. Now, I'm going to go ahead and mark this as a loss just to get that out there. But I find this one very intriguing because I have one toss-up game, not this one, but I was really close to marking this one a toss-up game. I would have absolutely marked this a toss-up game if it's later in the schedule because I feel that the drama between Jimbo and Petrino is inevitable. I just feel like that's going to be 2 freight trains at one another, and Jimbo's just going to pull the reins and say, "You don't know what you're doing, boy.
You don't know what a football is, boy."
However, tragedy, things have not fallen apart yet for Texas A&M by game 4. Talent is not an issue for the Aggies. It's been coaching. That's a loss for Auburn.
Probably, on the spectrum of how we've been looking at these first-year coaches, I'm doing one look at it that's like, well, possibly they could win that game for sure. I mean, look at coaching. The coaching favors Auburn a lot, I think. The talent does not. The depth does not. And that's why it's probably a loss in Texas in College Station. So this one kind of is a toss-up for me because it's also like they really, really need this game because of the stretch that we're about to get into.
Yeah.
But, again, I can kind of see either way. I'm going to lean win right here.
Wow.
I just am. I think they've got the coaching advantage. I think you'll find the very best of whichever quarterback. And, I've got reasons to believe that it should be Ashford because of his versatility. We'll see, of course. But I'm going to lean win for Auburn here.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. We haven't disagreed too much so far on schedule predictions. But
no, we've not.
That will just shock me if they do that in College Station. Anyway, I'm here for it. Give me that.
It's good on so many fronts for us.
Yeah, no kidding. So then they travel back to Auburn, hosting Georgia, and this game could be played in Georgia. It could be played in Auburn. It could be played in Kansas. It could be played in the depths of hell. Would not matter. Georgia by 100.
Probably so. I've got a loss, no doubt. This series doesn't get as weird as the Iron Bowl, and it would need all the weirdness. It would need Georgia to have no quarterback, and they've got several options. Not going down the road right now.
Yeah.
Loss.
Yeah. I've been thinking about, do we do an episode on the 2023 Georgia Bulldogs? And I just don't know that it would get any listeners because it's boring.
It is boring. I mean, very boring to me.
Win, 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 win. Maybe win.
Yeah, exactly.
They get a bye week. Man, if I'm the athletic director, I'm like, hey, can we move this? Can we
Yeah.
Can we push this back after the LSU game? Can we just
Yes.
go ahead and get these losses, out of the way and let us get healed up before the Mississippi schools? But doesn't. It comes for Louisiana State, and I don't think it matters if it's in Baton Rouge, Auburn. It's a loss.
Yeah, it would need this needs too many things from me to be an Auburn win. LSU brings back so much off of a pretty dang good team. Even despite the bad start they had, I don't see a win for Auburn in Death Valley. It's a loss there again for me as well.
Either, yeah. I mean, you're talking about defending division champs and probably the guys to be favored to do it again.
Bingo.
I mean, that's my thought.
Bingo.
For this next one, I don't have a prediction yet. I can't. This is marked up as a toss-up for me.
Okay.
And I go back and forth. I think I would feel a little bit better about Ole Miss if it was at home. I like Hugh Freeze to pull something out of his hat or to get a win, where he shouldn't, or to be on the positive side of a toss-up game. I'm really curious to hear what you got to say about this game.
Now, and this is, you kind of threw me off there. This is at Auburn, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's an interesting schedule in and of itself. That means they travel to Georgia, Alabama, and the Mississippi schools in even years, and then they host those teams in odd years, because that's what I've got here. So I just wanted to make sure. I'm pretty high on Ole Miss, though. I've got, again, the possibility when I look at this schedule, it's so possible that they win. You think about those games that Lane Kiffin loses that he shouldn't, and it's happened in each of their last couple of years. I mean, well, you think about the way they finished last year, and it just finished as a train wreck with him being a possible candidate for Auburn.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm pretty high on Ole Miss this year. I know they lost the leading receiver. They do bring back Judkins, and they're going to bring him back again. He's going to have a very explosive career there if he stays healthy. They've got so many quarterback options. I just think that with Lane's offense, with his same offensive mind that we kind of think about with Hugh, I'm going to lean Ole Miss with the continuity that they have that Auburn doesn't quite yet have. And again, the pieces that they have, I like. I really like some of those pieces. So I'm going to lean Ole Miss. I'm pretty high on them. There again, possible for Auburn to pull this game out because the talent is not, planets apart. It's just a few miles. It's a few miles or a few steps apart.
Mm-hmm.
So it is possible, but I'm going to go Ole Miss as of today.
I think I'm going to do the same. I think if they could get that bye week post LSU before Ole Miss, I'd feel a whole lot different. But the placement of this game, Georgia, bye week, LSU, Ole Miss, I mean, they could spend their bye week just preparing for Ole Miss and just like, listen, y'all, just do the best you can in Baton Rouge next week. Let's go ahead and prepare for Ole Miss. Yeah. I'll take a loss. I like the certainty, like you said, in the quarterback room, as opposed to just Auburn not knowing. I don't know if Ole Miss knows who their quarterback is,
and they may not.
But I mean, even if it's Jackson Dart, comes with experience, understanding the playbook, yada yada yada. I'll take the Rebels.
Yeah.
Now we got back home again. Another Mississippi school, Mississippi State. This is tough again for me. I thought this was going to be easier, but the more I thought about this, I can sense, it's almost like I can see the media headline, Zach Arnett gets a signature win. They attribute it to, Mike Leach, yada, yada, yada. How much emotion is Mississippi State going to be playing with? But this game is at Auburn. My mind and my heart say very different things, but I'm going to go with a win.
That's where I've been aligned as well, both in both of my points of view, where I'm looking at this from a realistic and kind of, glass full perspective. I'm looking at this as a win for Auburn. The only thing I really don't like for Auburn is, my gosh, the quarterback who is probably gray haired that I just forgot the name of. My goodness,
Who? What now? Say it
for
again.
Mississippi State's quarterback.
Oh, Will Rogers.
Will Rogers. Good heavens. He's been there for so long that I've forgotten his name. That's the only matchup that I don't like. I like the coaching for Auburn. I don't even mind in fact, I think I might like the players and the pieces for Auburn more than Mississippi State with transfer losses, with being schemed up for Leach versus Arnett. Lord knows it's going to look different.
Mm-hmm.
I'm leaning Auburn. Mississippi State's going to have a lot to play for all year, and I really do want the best for them. But I do see Auburn winning this game, and kind of both of my points of view that I've referenced so far.
Yeah, if Mike Leach was still with us, if he was calling those plays, I'd probably lean the other way. But
agreed.
Rumor is, I don't know if you heard this, but Will Rogers is actually Hunter Renfrow, just with a name change.
That is
Hunter Renfrow in disguise.
Great point, dude. Great point. Bailey Zappi move over.
So after playing the Mississippi schools, they're going to travel up to Nashville.
They're going to travel up to Nashville for a home game. How weird, huh?
I'm going to go ahead and put you down as a win then.
Got it.
Noted. Then they're back on the road at Arkansas. This was tough for me. I had to sit on this one for a little bit. I'll let you go first.
Yeah, same for me. It was tough, and it's another one where I'm split on. Best case scenario, they can absolutely win this game. We saw Arkansas deal with health issues at quarterback last year with kind of just the toughness and the signature style that we'd seen from Pittman early in his head coaching days. Just it wasn't there as much last year. Now they've got a lot of pieces to be excited for, really all over the field. They've been active in that transfer portal as well. I do have this as a loss for Auburn. I kind of had the mindset, and this is not to get off topic, but I kind of have the mindset of it's getting to be now or never for Pittman at Arkansas. Like he needs to get back to that form that he kind of established early of being really tough to beat. And they have the pieces to do that with Jefferson, with Raheem Sanders, and some of those receivers that they've got. So I'm leaning Arkansas. There's certainly a case that Auburn wins this game, but right now I'm with Arkansas.
Okay. Yeah, I think this game really comes down to the status of KJ Jefferson.
Yeah.
The guy can't stay healthy, and now we're talking about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, game 10, week, we're deep into the season at this point. Is he healthy?
Mm-hmm.
I have to assume he is. I'm going to go a win for Arkansas, loss for Auburn. And this next two, I feel like this is where the schedule ends for Auburn. It's just pretty black and white from here. Hosting New Mexico State. Win.
Them Lobos going home with an L. Lobos.
Lobos. And then Bama. Loss.
That's what I've got as well. I'm surprised looking back in the way that I look at these schedules that I've done for all these teams that I didn't build a scenario in my head where Alabama really struggles to find the pieces after Bryce Young and all the other guys that we won't get back into. But I didn't. When I looked at this, I see a loss, even with Auburn hosting it, even with the weirdness of the Iron Bowl. I don't think they'll be there yet, even with Hugh Freeze 10 years ago or almost 10 years ago, kind of having Saban's number for a brief stint. I don't know, man. I don't see a win for Auburn in that one.
I hear you. I don't either. I feel that Bama at this point could roll at any quarterback and it almost not matter. You've got them 7-5.
Yep.
Man.
Yeah.
I'll just go ahead and say something real sneaky real quick before we get there. That's higher than my ceiling for them.
Wow, yeah.
Tired my ceiling for them. 7-5. You got them 7-5. I got them 6-6. I think this drastically changes if Hunter becomes ineligible, if he's dismissed from the team. I mean, it's going to go south fast for those guys. But anyway, so we've got 7-5, 6-6. I feel like that gap between 6-6 and 7-5 is massive, but you have them doing it. So with that said, go ahead and give me your ceiling and your floor.
Yeah.
If you got them, if you've got them predicted 7-5, I can't wait to hear your ceiling.
Yeah, no, and it's not much higher. And the best case, think about it this way: if you look at the schedule, their toughest games are Georgia at LSU, and that's skipping Texas A&M. But their toughest games at that top level for me is Georgia at LSU, hosting Alabama, and at Texas A&M. I did skip that one actually. So those are your 4 toughest games, but you sprinkle in Ole Miss, you sprinkle in Arkansas, which I took losses for both of those games for Auburn. But it would be losing only those 4 toughest is really my ceiling. No higher than 8-4. Things just don't go that well oftentimes when there's been a coaching change. And again, we like Hugh Freeze on the field, what his mind brings to the game, but things just don't line up that well. With Hunter getting in trouble, man, he's going to have so many carries, so many opportunities this year. That's not a good sign.
Right.
If you're having discipline issues from one of your should-be stars, I mean, I don't know how many games he'll be looking at missing, but I'm sure at this point, unless things just change on its head, then he's going to miss some games, and that's going to be tough. And then, what if a quarterback doesn't take the job and run with it? I mean, we talked about that with just about every first-year coach so far. Yeah. But if it doesn't, man, this is a brutal gauntlet. That it's really it's a tough middle, and it's a tough ending with Alabama, but it becomes so much tougher if somebody doesn't run with that job.
Yes. So you've got 8-4 as the ceiling, and what's the floor?
I would say the floor then would be, because I actually forgot to do this. Let me glance real quick. I would believe my floor would be 5-7. If I'm not missing something there.
Okay, 5-7, and then with a ceiling of 8-4.
Yeah.
Cool. So my floor for these guys is also 5-7. I think that changes if Hunter is not eligible. However, I don't know that it changes too much. I think you're staring at 4-8 if things don't go well and you don't have Hunter. Which your floor is things are not going well, and that probably means the dismissal of arguably your best player. But anyway, I think your ceiling is only a 1-game difference between the ceiling and my prediction. I've got the ceiling at 6-6.
Yeah.
There's some favorable things with this schedule, but it's still the SEC West. If they go 6-6, I think that means that they beat Arkansas, Ole Miss, Mississippi State. I just don't see a win for that A&M game, no matter how you spin it. So that's still 1, 2, 3, 4. I guess that would put my ceiling at 7-5. Excuse me. Not 6-6. But I'm gonna run with them at 5-7. I just don't. I feel like it's pretty clear on what the outcome is going to be, with the exception of like Ole Miss.
Yeah,
maybe Arkansas. But anyway, before we get into best and worst case scenario, let's talk QB room just for a second. And if you're an Auburn fan, how are you feeling about it? Who do you want? Put yourself in the shoes of an Auburn fan. Talk to me about the quarterback room.
That loyalty that we mentioned with how they've been, despite the lows, really. I mean, of course they're there for the highs, but for those lows that we've mentioned that they've not left for. If you think about Auburn, Mississippi State last year, you think about, I believe it was Auburn, Texas A&M. They're late when Cadillac is on the sidelines, and the place is just electric.
Yeah,
and they're bad. Okay, they're a bad team last year, but the place is electric. But I'm diving into that loyalty there, and that's why I think you're wanting Robbie Ashford. If you're deep in that Auburn fan base, if you're a lifer with the Tigers, I think it's Robbie Ashford. Versatility. You got Hugh Freeze now that should be able to pull some of his best passing ability out of him, in theory. Now you look at Peyton Thorne. When you look at Peyton Thorne, you're saying, can we get that 2021 Peyton Thorne? Can we get his best out of him? And he's certainly got a higher ceiling as a passer. But, man, if you look at the athlete, maybe the ceiling to help out your offensive line, that's why I think Ashford is the way that I would be leaning. I can't speak much to the Griner kid that you mentioned. Don't know much about him. I kind of view it as a two-man race for that reason. Yeah. And again, I'm thinking about that loyalty, where I'd be as a fan. I'm thinking about Robbie Ashford when I think about last season, some of the plays he was able to make, how electric of an athlete he can be.
Yeah.
That's probably where I'm at.
I hear you. Yeah, I hear you. My mind and my heart are in very different places. My mind says, well, it's got to be Peyton Thorne, right? I don't see him transferring if he doesn't feel like he's got a chance to win the job. But you made a reference to 2021 Peyton Thorne when he had Kenneth Walker in the backfield and he was throwing to Jaden Reed.
Mm-hmm.
You might not have Hunter, and tell me who your receivers are.
Exactly. And that's another reason the receivers are another reason that I would think Ashford, he can dive around and make crazy plays with his legs to give time for those receivers to break open if they can.
Yeah.
Things like that, that he brings another element that they don't necessarily have.
Yeah. Yeah. This is going to segue very well into my best and worst case scenario. I can knock this out pretty quick, and then I'll leave the remaining minutes to you. So your best case, worst case scenario comes down to the quarterback room. I think your best case scenario is Hunter gets cleared, play, and somebody wins that job outright. Somebody won it.
Amen.
Somebody took the reins. I don't care if it's Griner. I don't care if it's Ashford. I don't care if it's Thorne. Somebody did it. I think your worst case scenario is you come out of summer camp and you're going into game one and you still don't know who the guy is.
Yep.
And if you're trying to figure that out going into coming out of Samford, going into A&M, bad news.
Yep.
I think it's that simple. You either know who the guy is or you don't. The best case scenario is you know who the guy is. The guy won the job. The worst case scenario is nobody won the job. You brought in a transfer. You've got an athlete in Ashford. You've got potential in this Griner kid, and nobody's doing it. That's not good.
100% agree. And I can't really name, the only negatives, I guess, worst case that I can think of is it's just so bad that there's such a disciplinary issue on something so prolific and this is such a bad scenario this early into a tenure when Hugh's got a laundry list attached to his name. It's just such a bad look. So that cannot happen. That would be my worst case if issues mount up or they build something to that effect. But again, best case for me is Hunter is good to go somehow, because that again just doesn't look like the path to me without missing some time. Now maybe it's UMass and Cal. I don't know, but you need him back early, and then you need a quarterback to, run away with this job. I think you don't need any questions.
Exactly.
No questions by the time you're traveling to College Station for sure. I would love it if it was established within those 3 games, no doubt. Maybe take that UMass game and then let's settle it on the field, and hopefully that happens at the latest in that moment. Yeah. But that's I'm right there with you. I can't see much else because they're just they're a new team. They are a new team front and back, offense, defense. So you're going to have to show me something. But again, I'm putting a lot of trust in that, that ceiling, especially, and even that 7-5 in Hugh Freeze and some of those guys, the best versions of Ashford or Thorne and Jarquez Hunter. Yeah.
It's that a lot of good can come out of this season for these guys. A lot of bad can come out of this season for these guys. It's really high highs, really low lows. I think, in addition to the best case and worst case, is that this thing with Hunter just doesn't go away. And I'm not making jokes here. I know that we joke a lot, but not making jokes here.
Yeah.
The fact that this case with Hunter is sexually related, and the thing with Hugh Freeze, you know what I'm saying?
That's exactly where I was
sexually
going.
Related.
Yep.
That can paint a really bad narrative fast if this doesn't get resolved. I hope the thing with Hunter is not true.
Agreed.
And I would be saying that if that were Bama, or I would be saying if it were Georgia.
Oh God, then we joked about it.
I'm kidding. I joked about it. But anyway, good stuff today, man.
I've got just a red hot question for you for Auburn. Okay. Where just your ceiling? Where would your ceiling alone be had they landed Devin Leary or Grayson McCall? Where would it be?
Win. That changes that. Loss. Where would my ceiling be?
Mm-hmm. How would it increase it substantially at all?
So we got 1. Yeah, it would. I'd say 8-4, 9-3. Actually,
yeah, I would be looking a lot harder at that 8-4 and really thinking about, man, who could they pick off? Look at what an ad that would have been for them. It really stinks that those guys, McCall especially. It sounded really goofy for reasons that that he didn't make it to even Florida. I mean, how pathetic on their part to not bring in someone like that. I mean, you just got to make it work, dude.
We got to do a show in Florida. We got to. We got to do a show in Florida.
Hey, we're wrapping up we're wrapping up the sermon series on first-year coaches. So maybe we'll look into second-year coaches. I don't know.
I also, and I don't want to turn this by any stretch into an orange cast and start talking Tennessee, Florida, but regarding Florida, I just remember going into the 2015 season, they got no offensive line. They're this.
First-year coach.
Yeah, and they still got us. So anyway, Auburn, we're rooting for you guys. War Beagle, baby. That's what happens when a Tennessee fan and an Auburn fan have a baby. They have a War Beagle. And we're rooting for you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Anything else on Auburn?
That spicy thought of Leary or McCall, man, that was it. That was the best I had to offer.
I would much rather have seen Leary in Auburn jersey than a Kentucky jersey any day.
Shade of blue. Shade of blue.
Yeah, no kidding. Hey, we love you guys. Thanks for hanging out with us. Thanks for talking and listening Auburn football with us. Would love to know your thoughts. So make sure you drop a comment. Make sure you drop a like. I don't care if you didn't like the video. Just do it anyway. Just because we're friends, right? If our voices are currently in your ears, it means we're friends. So just hit the like button. We love you guys. Thanks for letting us tickle your ears. Like, subscribe, all the things. This is Pandemonium Reigns. God bless. I almost forgot the name of our podcast. And go Balls.
GBO.
Pandemonium Reigns.